Alright, what's cracking with y'all? It's your boy Prince the Hustle God, aka Wise the Warlock. And we reaching in our combat tool bag one more again. It's a cool black affair. Shout out to the mighty ldbc. ldbc only, ldbc or nothing. ldbc everywhere. And ldbc versus everybody. This video is on the full fight card review of Fundora and Ocampo. So I'll start at what I did see of Michael Fox versus Igis Kavalauskas. Michael Fox did a very good job. He's a very tall boxer mover at 147, and he was robbed in his last fight. There was some glove skimming of the opponent, and the WBA, and the judges still granted the guy a victory, and he was involved in some payola to do with the WBA, to say the least. But he had a good showing of himself, but couldn't pull out the victory. Igis Kavalauskas, his consistent pressure and power punching was the true deciding factor, I would say, in the fight. He was able to knock down Michael Fox a few times and edge it out very clearly, and hurt him aside of the knockdowns. He hurt him a few times, so it was clear, and it showed Igis Kavalauskas has a lot left to offer the division, and has a lot in the tank, and he taught me a lot about Bud Crawford in that fight. Though Bud Crawford isn't in my eyes, and in a lot of people's eyes, he's the most athletic boxer out there. I think he is currently the remnants of someone who is one of the most athletic boxers out there, but is losing, or at least not showing or showcasing as well as he had in the past his most athletic abilities. But that said, he has to be a highly skilled, high IQ fighter to be able to dismantle Igis Kavalauskas the way he did, especially after getting woke up from that knockdown. It was like all hell broke loose from there. Not that Igis Kavalauskas is a great bar to test anyone on, but in hindsight, it does give his victory a lot more validity, showing how well he did against Virgil Ortiz, and then how well he did against Michael Fox. With that said, on to the next. It was Martinez versus Ancajas 2, and that was a very, very good fight. In my eyes, it was very reminiscent. The style matchup, the small bodies, but the volume and the collision of styles reminded me of Morales versus Marco Antonio Barrera. That said, it was the slick boxer versus a pressure puncher, because yeah, he has a lot of pop in his punch, but it was very good fight. There were a lot of swing rounds. It was that neck and neck, because Ancajas would clearly lose a round from the pressure and not be able to take the pressure, and you would think he's about to actually break down, and then the next round he'd come and clearly outbox and demoralize Martinez. But Martinez edged out the victory. He was able to keep a consistent amount of pressure on Cajas, and it wasn't a bad call for him to win. But I think people could also see a draw, seeing as the headbutt that did affect Cajas' performance. It was, I don't want to say it was intentional, but it did deserve to have a point deducted because Martinez was leading with his head so much. He headbutted Cajas quite a few times. And then a low blow from Cajas that gave Martinez a lot of time to recover in a round he was being very competitive in. I wouldn't say that deserved a point deduction, but yeah, like I thought it was an excellent fight overall. I thought the style, the Marco Antonio Barrera style that Martinez was trying to emulate, it came through well, and it was the primary reason why he was victorious. On to the next fight, Montiel versus Carlos Adames. Now, Carlos Adames is known to be a puncher. He was a lot sharper than he usually is in this fight. He was very technical in this fight, but very aggressive. Montiel, he's very unorthodox, a lot like Cota at 154. He switches like him defensively. They're not the most responsible boxers, but they're both punchers, which is why I compare them or draw a parallel with Cota. But Adames pounced on him, and he basically threw a 6-punch combination in the at the end of the second or the top of or the middle of the third. I felt as someone who actually basically studied and passed all of the referee stuff, I decided to take a pro route as a fighter. But the only thing I didn't do as a referee to complete my referee training was shadow the referees and see how they ref fights. But I would have called that down. If you call down and point to the ground, you consider you stop the volley for the fighter, and you call it a knockdown. Simply because it wasn't a straight 6-punch combination that was unanswered. The first punch that he threw, Montiel responded to, and then he got blitzed with a 5-punch combination. I didn't think, because the ropes weren't holding him up, because it was so early in the fight, and that was the first time he was truly buzzed in that manner, or hurt in that manner. He was more than buzzed. You could have called it down and began a 10 count, and if he didn't respond in time, then that could have been a KO. Instead of a TKO, it could have just been marked it down, a knockdown, and he could have began counting as Jack Reese did with he did it with I think it was the Charlo Harrison fight, but regardless, you can do that and it not be considered a standing 8, because we know how different athletic commissions and different sanctioning bodies have their own rules. But I thought it was stopped too soon. I thought he could have marked that as a down and then see how he responded afterwards. And if that same thing occurred, then it would have been a sufficient TKO. But he didn't give Montiel any time to actually respond or recover or try to mount an offense. With that said, on to the main event, Fundora versus Ocampo. Now, this is not a I told you so video, but the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, is all height, and some people can say all height and all hype, because he's a tall fighter, an extremely tall fighter, who doesn't fight well using his height, doesn't fight well at all using his height and reach advantage that he was genetically blessed with. He is only successful truly and clearly winning a fight on the inside, where he is essentially playing on even playing field of his opponents, with the exception of he has a lot more leverage due to the mechanics of how body shots work in boxing. That said, he lied on one of these interviews, stating that his walk-around weight was 160 and that he cut to 154 to campaign, and it doesn't make sense if he rehydrates to just below a light heavyweight. It would be physically impossible for you to rehydrate more than what your resting weight is after being extremely active in a 8-week training camp. But needless to say, he went tooth and nail with Carlos Ocampo. Carlos Ocampo essentially looked like he made that fight look a lot like Terrence Crawford versus Jose Benavidez. He was landing his left hook, though Terrence Crawford was a southpaw, but just in the height differential and the volume of landed punches of the littler guy, he was able to land his left hook, he was able to land his overhand, he was able to land his straight right hand, essentially at will. The issue was Sebastian Fundora is a lot more durable than you would think a guy as skinny as he is. So they were just trading back and forth. It was like a rock'em sock'em robots fight. Sebastian Fundora attempted in the beginning half of the fight to actually use his height and actually box, and you can see it in his face, and then the fact that he gave up on using his reach, because he was successful, but in the little times where he would face a little bit of adversity at range, he would express his discomfort in his face and in his lack of follow-up and lack of creativity. He would literally just throw the jab, step around, throw the jab, get hit, step back, throw the jab, step around, throw the jab, step around, get hit, step back, and it encouraged Ocampo to continue to mount an offense on him. So that turned the tides of the fight. I think it was around after the 4th or 5th, maybe even the 6th at the latest. I'll give him the 6th. And he just switched back to just fighting on the inside, where it was literally an even match. So I give a lot of credit to Carlos Ocampo, who most people know their last time seeing him is fighting Earl Spence, but since he's moved up and he's had a lot of success, well, not a lot, but a few successful bouts at 154, and had a great showing against the Towering Inferno, this 154 boogeyman who's calling out everyone. Essentially, the definition of weight bully, if there is any weight bullies out there. But that said, the last fight kind of turned into a sleeper for some reason. Usually inside fights, rock'em sock'em fights, they keep your attention and keep you excited and keep you involved and engaged. But as soon as he resorted back to his traditional rock'em sock'em robot style, it just turned into you hit me, I hit you, you hit me, I hit you. And for some reason that got a lot more boring in my eyes than what most people would consider a boring fight, which is that of two boxers or two boxer movers. But that said, it always will be, was, and a Code Black affair. Please support, sub to everything LDBC, Trilitary, Usual Suspects, my OG Cono Loco, TWT, HFO The Church, Acting Right TV, and my little brother, Black Sun, the 9-4 Sun God. Till next time, guys. Love y'all and deuces.